Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Entity Frost, and in this video I want to explain to you why I think 2.6 Hog is one of the best decks in Clash Royale. Now, I'm a 2.6 Hog player for over 9 years now, and I've reached Ultimate Champion with this deck. And so in this video, I want to just explain to you why I think this is one of the best decks in the game. Now, first of all, I'm not going to be biased or anything. Like, even though I played this deck for a long time, I'm going to look at this from a more objective lens rather than just something I think is true because I play it a lot. So first of all, I want to talk to you about the strengths of 2.6 Hog compared to other decks. Now first of all, 2.6 Hog is very cheap. It's literally in the name, 2.6 elixir. Now the reason why I think that's such a strong thing for 2.6 Hog is because cheap decks allow you to make more mistakes than expensive decks. Now here's what I mean by that. So let's say you're playing Golem Beatdown, which is obviously very expensive. It might be like average 5 elixir or 6 elixir. Now expensive decks, the problem with expensive decks is that when you play a card, it's very easy for your opponent to kind of punish you if they have the right cards to do so. Like, if you think about playing Golem at the back, for example, there's a lot of things your opponent can do, and you can't really do anything about it. Like, you don't really have enough elixir to defend it because you just spent a whole bunch of elixir. Now, the same thing can't be said for 2.6 Hog. Like, even if you play a Hog Rider at the bridge, you're still going to have 6 elixir left to defend whatever counter push they have stacked up against you once they defend your Hog Rider. And you can also like cycle skeletons and Ice Spirit without having that much risk as to what your opponent can do. And I think this is one of the strengths of 2.6 Hog. It's just that because you have so many options, you have so many cycle options, you don't really need to be scared of like over committing or like defending too much or like spending too much elixir, because you always have that like 1 elixir buffer, like your skeletons or your Ice Spirit, to defend whatever like thing they use to pressure you. And I think that's one of the strengths of 2.6 Hog. It's because you have that flexibility that other decks like Three Musketeers don't have because they're more expensive decks. Now another thing I want to mention is 2.6 Hog has a very nice attacking sort of combination. You know, now that you have Hero Ice Golem, you can use Hero Ice Golem to, you know, attack and place it in front of your Hog Rider at the bridge. And this is a very deadly combination if you know how to play it right. Now, you probably know that Hog Rider is probably one of the most annoying cards to face as a, you know, long-time player of this game, because let's be honest, like if you have experience with this game, there's probably some times when like your opponent plays Hog Rider at the bridge and then you spend like 8 elixir but you still can't defend it, and the Hog Rider still gets a hit with like 1 HP. Like you probably had that experience before, right? And so that just shows to you like Hog Rider can be a very annoying card to deal with a lot of the times. And because 2.6 Hog has such a fast cycle to Hog Rider, you're pretty much always going to be pressuring your opponent with your attacks. And so your attacking game is going to be very deadly if you know how to like outcycle your opponent's counters. You're pretty much guaranteed to get a Hog hit. So that's another strength of 2.6 Hog, is the attack. Now, at this point you might be saying, okay, what about Mega Knight? What about P.E.K.K.A? Like those are good cards as well. And this just goes back to my first point of how those attacking troops like P.E.K.K.A or like E-Giant or like Golem, they are very expensive cards. And so if you want to, you know, like pressure your opponent with P.E.K.K.A, first of all, that's more expensive than Hog Rider. And second of all, it's much slower than Hog Rider. You know, Golem and P.E.K.K.A and E-Giant, they all move at like very slow speeds, so you can't really like pressure opponent as much as you can with Hog Rider. And the next thing I want to talk about is the defense in 2.6 Hog. Now obviously you have your musketeer, your ice golem, your cannon, and also like those cheap cards like skeletons and ice spirit, right? Now to me, I think that is a very good combination of defensive options, because first of all, musketeer is very versatile. You know, you have your hero musketeer and also evo musketeer now, and it's just a very solid defensive card for like basically anything your opponent plays. You can just play musketeer to defend it. And then you have a building, you have cannon, which like obviously in most decks you probably should have a building to defend whatever like things they have. Like if they have Hog Rider, like Battle Ram, then obviously your building would be very useful. And also, one of the most like underrated aspects of 2.6 Hog, and probably one of the most like annoying things like players who play against 2.6 Hog face, is just the cycle of 2.6 Hog. Like you have skeletons and ice spirit and ice golem, and if your opponent just like built up a big push and you can defend it with like these cheap cycle cards, you know, distracting cards, then they're gonna get frustrated pretty quickly. Like you probably know like just how annoying 2.6 Hog is when you just can't defend against their you just can't break through their pushes because their cycle is just so fast. Like that's exactly why the defensive capability of 2.6 Hog is just so good. It's because you have these cycle cards that your opponent just can't break through. Now compare this with decks like Mega Knight or like P.E.K.K.A. Like let's be honest, you can drop Mega Knight onto whatever they play, but that's 7 elixir, and if they just, you know, play something opposite lane after that, and you don't really have that much elixir to defend, then you're kind of cooked because you don't have anything else to defend their pushes. And that just shows to you why I think cheap decks are much more effective than expensive decks. It's just because you have that like option to do whatever you want without, you know, risking too much about what your opponent can play. Like for example, if you play a very expensive deck like Mega Knight, you can play Mega Knight, but after you play Mega Knight, you're not gonna have much elixir to do anything else. Like you just have to wait for your elixir to come back. Compare this to like cycle decks like 2.6 Hog, where you pretty much never have to fully run out of elixir or like run out of things to play, because you're always going to have like enough elixir to play skeletons or ice spirit or ice golem, and that just becomes a very not only fun thing to play, but also like is very versatile, because you can pretty much figure out what to do against every matchup very quickly and just use your cycle skills to think of a plan and also like defend properly. And now that you have like hero ice golem and like hero musketeer, it just becomes so much like fun to play and also like very rewarding. And the last thing I want to talk about is how I think 2.6 Hog can survive any meta changes. And what I mean by this is, if you look at like how many times Clash Royale has been updated, you know, over like 9 years, you can always find people playing 2.6 Hog. Like it's always going to be in the game because of the fact that it's so like well-rounded. It's such a well-rounded deck that can pretty much play against, you can play it against any deck your opponent plays. Like sure, like people start playing Firecracker when that came out, or like other Mega Knight decks or whatever, but 2.6 Hog will always be evergreen. Like no matter how the game changes, you will always see people playing 2.6 Hog because it's just so well-rounded and you can do anything with it basically. And as for the matchups, 2.6 Hog does well against any matchup if you know how to play it properly, which is another thing like why I think it's one of the best decks in the game. And the reason it does so well against a lot of matchups is because you can basically defend against anything with musketeer, cannon, and like cheap cycle cards. But there's other decks which don't have this defensive capability. For example, like let's say for P.E.K.K.A, right? P.E.K.K.A's hard counters are probably something like Inferno Tower or like, you know, like swarm cards. But for 2.6 Hog, you don't really see that many hard counters, apart from like a few. But even for those decks, you can still manage to find a way to outplay your opponent because of the fact that you have so many options with your cycle and also your like placements. Like if you know order placements and you know how to like defend against every card and also like learn the interactions of every card, then it's very straightforward actually if you think about it, because a lot of decks don't have that like straightforward kind of counter. Like if you think about it, you can use Ice Golem to pretty much kite any card and use Musketeer to defend anything. You can also use like, you can also play Hog Rider against anything they have and they basically have to deal with it. Like even if they have a building, you can like pressure them with, you know, Hog Rider Ice Golem, or you can like outcycle their building and they still have to deal with that. And so fundamentally, because 2.6 Hog has survived so many like balance changes and updates to the game, I honestly think it is one of the best decks in the game, and it will continue to remain to be the best, one of the best decks in the game for a long time. And so if you currently are like thinking of what deck to play and you don't really know what to play, like if you just want to stick to one deck and like have that as your main deck, then I think 2.6 Hog is one of the best options that you can have if you want to, you know, maintain like one deck for a long time. I think it's one of the best decks by far in the game, and it will continue to be for the future as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts about like what deck you should play, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.